This is all based upon JAH's 7 pillars of wisdom.
Proverbs chapter 9, verse 1. Wisdom hath builded her house. She hath hewn out her 7 pillars.
The understanding of the number 7 and wisdom here is very, very important. When you're dealing with the Most High's time frames, 7 is the foundation. It's the key that unlocks all different understandings, as you're going to see. And the lunar cycles don't operate under the principles of 7s at all.
That's right.
So when we're getting into this understanding of searching out JAH's Almanac, and we're going to use the scriptures, you also have to have your head on your shoulder. You have wisdom, logics to understand numbers and the principles of the scriptural calendar that way. So this number 7 can be seen all around us, whether it's the 7 notes of music, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, or it's the 7 holy days or holy convocations of the Most High, or the 7 original colors in the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, purple. I mean, the 7-day weekly cycle, we'll talk about it. It is the foundation, which leads to sabbatical years, 70-year cycles, and 7,000-year cycles. And we can see throughout the scriptures and prophecy that 7 is a very prominent and important number. It's not the only number. 12 has a great factor in understanding calendars as well. But 7 is the foundation and the rock that we're built upon with JAH's Almanac.
And JAH saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the 6th day.
So we see that darkness was first and is also very good. It's something you have to remember. People think that creation began with light, but you see that JAH's spirit was in darkness. He was creating his heaven in darkness. The earth material was made in darkness. Again, the kingdom of heaven was made in darkness. And then the Most High said, let there be light, and brought forth the angels and all the great spirits and angelic beings. And his work was able to be seen and visible to the angels as well. So I know many people have arguments about that, but we deal with the 7-day weekly cycle as the nights being first, followed by the light period, or the evening and the morning. Right? The evening would be the beginning of the night period. The morning is the beginning of the light period. And time began in darkness, whether people want to deny it or not. It's very clear in the scripture.
That's right.
Let's go to in the yellow there regarding the Sabbath.
And on the 7th day, JAH ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made.
All right. So 7 days, that's all it is. 7 days. Some people try to say, oh, it was 7,000 years. Each day was 1,000 years of creation. But that's not how that 7,000-year understanding applies at all. And we'll briefly talk about it later. I mean, just think about it. If each day of creation week was, let's say, 1,000 years, like people really teach and everything, then the first day would have been 1,000 years. So that first 1,000 years has to be made up by a year, right? Because 1,000, you have to have a year first. And then that year would have to be made up of seasons, months, and days. But if the Most High never even finished the first week of creation, then how could you have weekly cycles and months or anything of that nature? What were they made from if it was only that 1,000-year period? You wouldn't have time. It's actually quite silly, and I don't want to say foolish too much, but I mean, it's foolish to think that JAH took 7,000 years to make creation. There's so many things wrong with that understanding, but I do know that many people believe in it. We teach against it greatly, and again, we're just going to just leave it at that. There were 7 24-hour days, just like how the Most High said in his 10 commandments, 6 days you shall work as the Most High worked, and he rested. So it wasn't no 6,000 years he was working and then rested for 1,000 years, and then creation started carrying on, in increments. It just, again, it makes no scriptural sense, and it should be avoided, that understanding.
That's right.
So greatly, we deal with the 7-day Sabbath, starting at evening, and of course, ending at the following evening from that. Scriptures.
Leviticus chapter 25, verse 8. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto thee 49 years. Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 9. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest. Verse 10. and thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto JAH thy El. Daniel chapter 9 verse 2. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, understood by books the number of the years, whereof the word of JAH came unto Jeremiah the prophet, that he would accomplish 70 years in the desolations of Jerusalem.
Right. So, looking at these verses again, complementing the understanding of counting and numbering, right? You're numbering the festival, you're numbering the Jubilee years. Once it says number, you don't have to look at anything.
That's
We're
right.
dealing with 7 weeks when it comes to the Feast of Pentecost or the Feast of Weeks. So the weekly cycle again, or the Sabbath, is prominent in this understanding. You're not just counting 49 days or 7-day cycles. It has to be 7 complete weeks. And the weekly cycle from creation is the foundation. It's never been interrupted at all, even though people say that it's been interrupted. But no, the Most High is never going to let that 7-day week be interrupted. People can have other kind of length of weeks, 8 days, 9 days, but it doesn't disrupt JAH's 7-day Sabbath. The Julian calendar, the Gregorian calendar didn't interrupt the 7-day Sabbath. So it's firm and fixed. And we know this just because JAH told us to remember this Sabbath day and keep it holy. And we know that even in the Messiah's days, the true Sabbath was there. And the Julian calendar was at that time and then switched over to the Gregorian calendar. So there's been no missing of or messing up of the weekly cycle order at all. Now, I want to say this as well. Daniel's understanding by books the number of years when he's dealing with reading the other prophets and their prophecies. The prophecy of Jeremiah with the 70 years where the land would have a rest because the people, were never gave the land rest. So JAH made that, that time period very special. And it says Daniel understood by books the number of years. So again, we're just focusing on using your wisdom and the idea of numbering and counting things. It's
right. And it's important to understand that reading these verses, there's no reliance on looking up into the sky and observing any phases of the moon whatsoever to help us to determine these holy times. It's not there. JAH told us to count, and he tells us when to begin to number our days. So there's no need to look up into the sky and try and discern the phases of the moon or anything of the sort. Those things is not what JAH commanded us to do. This is what JAH commanded us to do, and we read it here. He told us to count and number days.
That's right. Now, before we go on, don't get us wrong here. We know that the sun, moon, and stars are for signs, seasons, days, and years. But the sun, moon, and stars are not, in particular, not for weekly cycles or the holy Sabbath, because, just looking at creation, the first Sabbath has nothing to do with the sun, moon, and stars, and that's the foundation of time. The sun, moon, and stars operate within JAH's 7-day cycle, and that's why it was created in the middle of JAH's 7-day cycle. The sun, moon, and stars weren't made on the first day, and rightly so, because you see how people in this world want to worship the sun, moon, and stars already, but everything begins with the Most High. So here's some of the cycles. Again, I'm just showing you some of the cycles here. We're not going to be getting into all of them. We're focusing on the months, but it's good to have a foundation and understanding when we're talking about the 7 pillars of wisdom. So we have a 1-year cycle, as everybody knows. We have yearly cycles, and 1 times 7,000 gives you 7,000. And when we speak about 7,000 here, when we utilize the scripture that says, as a day is 1,000 years, as 1,000 years is a day unto JAH, we utilize it as all of this first creation. So each day of the week, 7 days of the week, represent 1,000 years, but not at creation, but throughout time. So for example, as we, you hear us say the date and the chronological year every Sabbath, this is the year 6,224. So that means 6,224 years have passed within this 7,000 year cycle, and the Messiah is going to come in this last cycle here within this 7th day.
That's right.
So we have within JAH's Almanac, there are 7-year sabbatical cycles every 7th year. You can read about these, and we'll cover them later on, not today. We have the 28-year cycle, which is 4 times 7. There's 250 28-year cycles, and the 28-year cycle is very important. Again, there's so many different nuances of the calendar that you just have to take a little bit at a time. We have the 49-year Jubilee year. Also, we could call it the 50th year, but it operates under cycles of seven Sabbaths of years, it says in the scriptures. And there's 144 Jubilee cycles. We have the 70-year cycle, and you heard Daniel just, I think it was this right here, Daniel was talking about the number of years where we accomplished this 70 years of desolation. Now you start to learn that these are cycles. So we have the 7-year cycle, 7 times 10. We have the century cycle, just letting us know when the centuries are, and that's 100 years, and 100 times 70 gives you 7,000. There's a 700-year cycle, very important. So 700 times 10 gives us 7,000. And then we have the 1,000-year cycle. 1,000 times 7 equals 7,000. So this is important just to know.